We are going to dive into the world of idioms today with colors from red to black. We're going to uncover the hidden meanings and stories and histories behind some of your favorite color idioms. So let's get colorful. Well, we have to start with red, don't we? It's the color of passion and danger, and sometimes even a little bit of trouble. Here are six popular color idioms relating to red that I picked out for today. So we have red tape, seeing red, caught red handed, paint the town red, red flag, and in the red. Well, have you ever heard of red tape? It doesn't refer to the color of the tape at all. It means excessive bureaucracy. And the phrase originated from the 16th century when legal documents were bound together with red cloth tape to keep them organized. So nowadays, it symbolizes that bureaucracy or unnecessary delays. Speaking of trouble, you've probably heard someone say see red, and this means you're mad, you're furious. And it's been around since the 1700s, probably inspired by the idea of someone actually seeing red because they were so angry. Um, the next one that we're going to look at is caught red handed. If you've been caught red handed, you've been caught in the act, usually committing a crime. And this term comes from the 15th century when the phrase referred to the bloody hands of a butcher who had just killed an animal. So they had red on their hands. So paint the town red. Wow, when you want to go and paint the town red, it's not about the color of the paint, but the excitement of a good time. So, legend has it that the phrase dates to 1837 when a rowdy group of young men in the UK literally painted parts of the town red after a wild night out. So, red flags. Speaking of warning signs, red flags, whether it's a relationship, a job, or a risky business venture, a red flag signals danger. Historically, a red flag was used in battle to signal that retreat was necessary. And nowadays, you might be hearing red flags popping up everywhere. Now, the last one that we're looking at is in the red. And in the red is a phrase that comes from accounting. Back in the day, negative numbers were written in red ink, signaling loss or debt. So if your bank account is in the red, you're in the danger zone, and financially speaking. So we have those six idioms. Here are six questions with missing gaps to fill those idioms in. Pause the video, try and test this out, and then in the next video, you'll see the answers. So, how many of these did you get right? If you're a little still unsure, you can go back and check out what these idioms mean again and test it again. So we've moved straight on to orange. It's like the colours of the rainbow. And this bright, bold colour brings up some very, very interesting idioms as well. So the idioms that we're going to look at today in the orange section is orange alert, squeeze the orange dry, to throw someone an orange, the whole orange, orange crush, and orange is the new black. So when it's an orange alert, you're in a state of caution, typically used in weather warnings. And this phrase refers to a level of danger that is higher than normal, but not critical. Okay, to squeeze the orange dry, well, I'm not sure if you've ever heard that phrase, but it's about getting everything you can out of a situation. It originates from the idea of squeezing an orange until there's no juice left, leaving no resource left untouched. To throw someone an orange means to make a difficult situation easier for them. You're offering something sweet and manageable, much like how the orange itself is both sweet and refreshing. Okay, this phrase, the whole orange. I don't know if you've ever heard it. Well, it means to get everything out of something, to take advantage of every part of it. It's like not leaving a single slice behind. So, even using the peel, using the zest, using the whole orange. Orange crush is what we have up next. It's not just the soda. It's a phrase used for infatuation, and it stems from the 19th century when the term crush referred to a romantic attraction, and orange added an extra zest. If you've ever seen the TV show Orange is the New Black, well, you might have heard this phrase and heard this idiom. And this phrase became popular because of the show. But before that, the idea was that orange was no longer just for traffic cones and prison uniforms, it was the new, bold fashion choice. Okay, if you want to jump over to the next slide, we can test our knowledge. Okay, so here we have 6 questions again. Pause the video now, try and answer the missing gaps, and then move over to the next slide to see if you've got it correct. How did you do? Now let's add a little brightness and sunshine and yellow to the mix. The idioms that we're going to look at today are mellow yellow, yellow brick road, yellow journalism, yellow belly. If it's mellow, let it if it's yellow, let it mellow, and yellow streak. And the fifth one that I said is not really an idiom, but it's just a fun phrase I thought we should touch upon. When you're feeling relaxed, you might say you're in a mellow yellow mood, just like the soft, chill vibes of the color yellow. It also has that informal slang of meaning that you're on acid or something, an illegal drug. And I suppose because it represents those same vibes. Yellow Brick Road. Um, well, it's the iconic scene from The Wizard of Oz. This path symbolized the journey to fulfillment and hope, so a bright road leading to better things. Yellow journalism refers to the sensationalized news. It all started in the late 1800s when newspapers started printing exaggerated stories to sell more copies. Yellow ink became associated with cheap, exaggerated journalism. Yellow belly, I'm not sure if you've ever heard that term, but it's for someone who's afraid. And it comes from the idea that yellow is a cowardly color, often associated with caution. Now, if it's yellow, let it mellow is probably familiar with this phrase if you are um, a green activist or you're environmentally friendly, and it encourages people to conserve water by not flushing the toilet every time um, they urinate. And the last one, yellow streak, similarities between yellow belly, but it refers to someone who is acting cowardly or afraid. This one's believed to have originated from the 19th century when a yellow streak was a sign of cowardice in cartoons and popular stories. Test out your knowledge for those different 6 idioms relating to yellow and pause the video now. And here are the answers to those idioms. So, how did you do? If you need to pause it to have a look, You can do that as well. Okay, it's time for green. So let's go with the greens. Now, the six idioms we're looking at today is green with envy, green bout, green, a little green, green fingers, and green light. Okay, if you are green with envy, well, it comes from ancient Greek playwrights who often use the color to symbolize jealousy. It's all about feeling jealous or envious of someone else's success. Green belt is an area of undeveloped land, usually around cities, that's preserved for the environment. The term has been around since the early 20th century. Green, just green, while the color green has always been associated with either money or currently it's associated with activism for the environment. So we use that term green. If you are a little green, it means that you are inexperienced or new to something, and that's because of the that use of the term with money. Um, Green fingers, if you have green fingers, you're a gardening pro. This term comes from how plants can leave a green stain on your fingers if you've been working with them a lot. And the green light, it means go ahead. This comes from the traffic signals that tell you it's safe to move forward. Okay, guys, you have another opportunity to test your knowledge relating with these green idioms and let me know how you did. And here are those answers. One of my favorite colors, blue. Today we're swimming in the world of blue, a color that's calm, sad, unexpected, and sometimes painfully frustrating. Buckle up because this one's going to be a true blue adventure. The idioms that we're going to look at today is scream, blue murder, boys in blue, true blue, feeling blue, out of the blue, and blue balls. So, if you are to scream blue murder, you are yelling or complaining at the top of your lungs, usually in protest. This phrase comes from the 19th century, where blue murder was a way to express extreme alarm. Picture a toddler who doesn't get their favorite snack or a sports fan watching their team lose in overtime. That's screaming blue murder in action. The next one, the boys in blue. I'm not sure if you've ever heard this phrase. It's a British phrase and it's a nickname for the police. And it dates back to the 19th century when the British and American police forces started wearing blue uniforms to stand out from the military. Love them or fear them, the boys in blue are everywhere. True blue. A phrase that means someone is loyal, trustworthy, and faithful. The idiom dates back to medieval England when blue dye, particularly from Coventry, was known for never fading. If you're true blue, you're solid, reliable, and you stick to your people, whether it's your family, your friends, or your ride or die team. Now, if you're feeling blue and you've ever watched that movie Inside Out, you know there's a character who is blue and she's called Sadness. Yes, because if you're feeling blue, you're down in the dumps. This phrase dates back to the 17th century when sailors would fly blue flags or paint their ships blue after losing a captain at sea. Over time, blue became associated with sadness. And let's be real, if you've ever been through heartbreak, a bad day, or watched the last episode of your favorite show, you know exactly what feeling blue is like. Now, what about when something comes out of the blue? It means something totally unexpected, like a surprise phone call from an ex or your boss dropping a last minute deadline on you. The idiom comes from the idea of a clear blue sky, calm and peaceful, until bam, A storm hits with no warning. Yeah, life works like that sometimes. And blue balls. All right, let's address the elephant in the room. Blue balls. Yeah, we're going there. This phrase originally had a literal medical meaning describing discomfort due to, let's say, unfinished business. But over time, it also comes to mean frustration in general. Like when you're hyped for your favorite band's concert and it gets cancelled last minute, a letdown of epic proportions. Here we can test our blue phrases. So give it a go, pause the video while you put the right words in the right places. How did you do? Pause again if you just want to check through those answers. Let's start with pink, the color of love, joy, and sweetness. Here are the 6 idioms that we're going to be looking at today relating to pink. We have tickled pink, pink slip, pink elephants, pinky promise, rose colored glasses, and pink tax. Have you ever been tickled pink? It's an expression of being delighted or thrilled. The phrase dates back to the 18th century where tickled meant pleased, and pink referred to something being perfect or at its best, like a rosy cheeked happy person. Now, have you ever received a pink slip? This one's a little less fun. It's the term for being fired from your job. It dates back to the early 1900s when companies would use pink colored slips of paper to notify employees of their termination. If you've seen someone seeing pink elephants, it means they're hallucinating, often due to excessive drinking. This term was popularized in the 1930s after the release of a song by Louis Armstrong, where the lyrics talked about seeing pink elephants on parade. A pinky promise, you make a vow and lock it in with a little finger. This promise has been around for generations and it's thought to have originated in Japan, symbolizing trust and a commitment to keep a secret or a promise. Rose colored glasses. If you are wearing rose colored glasses, you're looking at the world through overly optimistic eyes. This phrase comes from the idea of wearing glasses with pink lenses, which would make everything seem more cheerful, even if things weren't perfect. Have you ever heard of pink tax? It's not about color, it's about the extra money women often pay for products marketed towards them, like razors or shampoos, even though they're essentially the same as products marketed to men. It's been a topic of social discussions for years, and the phrase has gained popularity for shining a light on gender based pricing. Here we have some questions. We're missing gaps, so pause the video now and give it a go. And here are the answers. Pause again to check if you've got it right. Now let's step into the world of purple, a color synonymous with royalty and nobility. The 4 terms we're going to look at today for purple idioms, just because there's not as many as the others, is purple prose, purple cow, purple patch, and born to the purple. Now, if someone is using purple prose, their writing is overly ornate or exaggerant. It's an expression used to describe language that is flowery or exaggerated, much like the expensive royal robes of the past. Purple cow. Who could forget that famous purple cow? It's a quirky idiom. It's all about something that's strange or unique. The phrase comes from a 19th century poem by Burgess, where he claimed he'd never seen a purple cow but would like to, hinting at the rare or extraordinary. If you're on a purple patch, you're having a streak of good luck or success. This term has its roots in the 19th century, referring to a period of brilliance or fortune, especially in literature or art. And last but not least, to be born to the purple means to be born into royalty or privilege. The phrase dates back to ancient Rome, where only emperors wore purple robes. The dye was so rare and expensive that only the most powerful had access to it. And here we go again. We've got some questions. And here we go again. We've got some questions based on those idioms. Pause the video and give it a go. And here are the answers. Um, Check to see if you got it right. Let's move to brown, a color often tied to hard work and humility. And it's got one of my favorite expressions, how now, brown cow. I don't know why. Um, so let's have a look at the words we're going to see today. We're going to check these 6 terms with brown idioms, brownie points, brown noser, brown study, brown off, brown and out, and talk to a brown wall. Ever been given brownie points? It's a way of saying you've earned a small reward or favor, typically through good behavior. The term likely came from the popular Girl Scout tradition, where earning brownie points meant doing something good to get recognition. If you're a brown noser, you're someone who excessively flatters or tries to please those in authority, usually to get ahead. The phrase comes from the idea of someone nose to the ground, trying to stay close to their boss for personal gain. It's a term that is not used as often anymore, but you might hear it in passing. If you're in a brown study, you're lost in thought or deep in contemplation. This idiom dates back to the 17th century, where study referred to a state of intense concentration, and brown was a colour often associated with being serious or dull. To brown off means to become angry or irritated. It's thought to be linked to the colour brown, symbolising a dull, upset mood, or simply the idea of something unpleasant. When someone is browning out, it means they've reached their limit or given up. This phrase ties the idea of exhaustion, like when you're so tired, you're out of energy or burned out. And if you're talking to a wall, you're trying to have a conversation with someone who isn't listening or isn't responding. It's a bit like speaking to a brick wall, but with that extra touch of unyieldness. Here we go, 6 more sentences to try and put those idioms in the right place. And then pause the video, give it a go, and then check on the next slide. Here are the answers. How many did you get right? Don't debate with me if white and black are colors, because I'm going to check out these idioms with these 2 colors next. Here are the 6 idioms relating to white. We're going to have white collar, men in white coats, white flag, white as a ghost, white lie, and pearly white. Okay, so if you're a white collar worker, you're typically in an office job, especially one that's more mental than physical. The term came about in the early 20th century when office workers often wore white dress shirts, symbolizing cleanliness and professionalism. You might also hear the term blue collar worker is someone who works in a factory. So when you talk about men in white coats, you're referring to doctors or medical professionals. It's been a long standing association as doctors often wore white coats in the 19th century to symbolize their role in caring for others. Over time, it has also meant to mean that someone who works in a psychiatric hospital. A white flag means surrender. It's a universal symbol of giving up or wanting peace, first used in warfare in the 16th century as a signal to stop fighting and negotiate. If you're white as a ghost, you're looking pale, usually because you're scared or sick. This expression has been around for eons, likely because ghosts in stories were depicted as pale, translucent beings. We've all told a white lie, and if you say you haven't, well, you're lying. A harmless or small untruth. The idiom's roots go back to the 16th century when white was associated with being harmless or pure. It's not about being malicious, but maybe just sparing someone's feelings. You know, I like those shoes. And last but not least, if you've got pearly white, you've got some bright, shiny teeth. This phrase comes from the comparison between the lust of pearls and the gleam of a perfect smile. Okay, then you know the drill. Pause the video, test out your knowledge, and then check in to see if you got 6 out of 6. And how did you do? How exciting! We've reached our final color, so let's wrap it up. We have 6 idioms left for black. We have black tie, black and white, pot calling the kettle black, to be in the black, blackout, and blacklist. So, black tie. It refers to a formal event, usually requiring a tuxedo or evening gown. This elegant phrase has been around for over a century, originating with the rise of tuxedo wearing events in the late 1800s. The idiom black and white comes from the contrast between black ink and white paper, symbolizing clarity and certainty. Dating back to the 16th century, it originally referred to written agreements as undeniable truth. Over time, it evolved to mean clear cut choices, though today it's also used to critique oversimplified thinking. If you're the pot calling the kettle black, you're accusing someone of something you do yourself. It's a bit of a hypocritical phrase, and it's likely comes from the old practice of cooking pots getting sooty, making the kettle and the pot look equally black. If you are in the black, you're financially stable. Well done. Making money or doing wow. This phrase comes from accounting where profits were written in black ink to signify positive financial standing. A blackout happens when the lights go out. The term was popularized during power outages, but it also refers to memory loss or a sudden moment of confusion, usually caused by stress or a blow to a head or alcohol. And last but not least, the blacklist. If you are blacklisted, it means you've been excluded or banned from something, often as a result of bad behavior. The term dates back to the 17th century when people were officially blacklisted for being considered enemies or traitors. Here we have our final 6 questions to test out our knowledge using these idioms referring to black. How did you do? Thank you so much for going through all of these colors with me. See you in the next video where we're looking at new English knowledge. Bye bye.